Has your doctor told you that you have a thin uterine lining or maybe a thick uterine lining? Well, then today's video is for you. Hi everyone, I'm Mara Salerno, Functional Diagnostic Nutrition Practitioner of ReclaimOptimalHealth.com, where I help couples just like you resolve their infertility and get back to creating those families you so deeply desire. If I could ask you for a quick favor, and please click on that subscribe link down below so that you get notifications every week when I post these functional fertility boosting videos. And I invite you to join me on Instagram and follow me there because I post all kinds of fresh functional fertility boosting content. And it's a great place to connect with me live, so you can direct message me, ask me any questions you might have about your infertility, as well as maybe you just want to share your story and get some support. So I'm here for you. Okay, so what is the uterine lining or the endometrium? Those are two words for the same thing. So the endometrium is the innermost lining of the uterus, and the endometrium thickens and renews itself to prepare for pregnancy every month. And when pregnancy doesn't occur, then the endometrium sheds itself during menstruation. Now, the endometrium is also really important for a developing embryo to implant itself in the very first few days of pregnancy. Now, normally, a woman who's undergoing IVF is the one who's informed about the thinness or the thickness of her uterine lining. And it's because a fertility doctor will actually measure it because he wants to know where it's at for embryo transfer, because he wants to make sure that implantation is going to be as successful as possible. So an endometrium that is thick and receptive and nourished is going to be the best possible environment for an embryo. Now, a uterine lining can cause problems not only with implantation, but also early pregnancy loss. And there are a whole slew of reasons why a thin uterine lining may be occurring in you. And I'll name off a few, but they're not all of them. So one might be decreased estrogen, luteal phase defect, which is basically the second half of your menstrual cycle when you're in your luteal phase after ovulation. And this is where progesterone is dominant, and progesterone has a heavy hand in implantation and maintaining a pregnancy, particularly in the first trimester. We also see endometriosis as a contributor to thin uterine lining, endometrial cancer, viral infections, Asherman's syndrome, and the list goes on and on. Now, from a conventional approach, what would commonly happen is that they would want to force the thickening of the uterine lining by using hormones. And I like to put on my functional fertility glasses and lens, and I hope you'll join me so that you can get a view into how it is that my mind works when I work with couples who have a thin uterine lining. So right away when that comes to me, when a couple comes to me with a thin uterine lining, or the woman does, I automatically go to the gut. I think of the gut. And you're probably thinking, well, what? Like the gut and uterine lining, like how do those two come together? Well, we know that in the gut, it's where 80 to 90% of the immune system is produced. And this is a big deal because we know in endometriosis, for example, or even just with a thin uterine lining, that it's the result of a dysregulated, meaning imbalanced basically, immune system and high levels of inflammation. So if we can direct your energy, and this is what I would do, I would direct your energy at getting your immune system boosted through your gut and taking care of your overall gut health, we can actually have a really strong positive impact on the uterine or the endometrial lining. Pretty amazing, right? Now, with research, it's been shown that the vaginal, the gut, and the cervical microbiota, and the microbiota just means the bacteria that are in those three different places, have a certain composition when a woman has a thin uterine lining. And you don't need to remember these, but just so you know, those bacteria usually show up as Gardnerella, as Escherichia, and as Shigella bacteria. And if a woman doesn't have those issues, she'll have a whole different set of bacteria that are present. So it's very interesting, and that tells us that if we can affect the gut and the bacteria in the gut and the whole body, then we can actually have a really strong positive impact on the uterine lining without using hormones to push or force your body into thickening, etc. And then research has also shown that if you take orally probiotics, particularly if you look at research, it'll say Lactobacillus gasseri, which is a strain of bacteria, that it actually improves the quality and the environment of the endometrium, of the uterine lining. But it's not just Lactobacillus gasseri. They've actually found that the endometrium has over 183 different bacteria. Super wild. I mean, there's that much bacteria just in the endometrium itself. So that tells us that if you are able to take care of your gut health and your whole microbiome in your body, your microbiome is all the bacteria that make up you and that live inside of you, then you can have this positive impact on your uterine lining, have successful implantation, and no longer deal with pregnancy loss, which is super amazing. So if you're ready to have your baby, you're sick of trying all these different things that aren't working, and you want to have maybe a successful natural pregnancy or maybe a successful IVF, then that's what I do, and you can click on the qualifying call down in the description box below. So I hope this was helpful for you all, and I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.